There's a grasshopper out there that's completely pink, a dolphin that glows like bubblegum under the Amazon sun, a horse with a coat that reflects light like liquid gold, and a tiger with stripes so dark they look like shadows burned into its fur. These aren't digital edits or science experiments. They're completely real. 15 animals God, painted with colors so rare that most people spend their entire lives never knowing they exist. And number one, it looks less like an animal and more like a living piece of art. Let's go. Position 15. Black striped tiger. The ghost of the jungle that science took decades to explain. Most people know tigers have orange coats with black stripes. But what happens when the orange disappears entirely and only the black remains? That's the black striped tiger, also called a pseudomelanistic tiger. This incredibly rare variation has stripes so wide and dense they merge together, covering nearly the entire body in deep black. The base coat almost vanishes. What's left looks less like a tiger and more like a shadow wearing fur. This isn't a separate species. It's a rare genetic mutation that affects pigmentation, causing the stripes to dramatically overdevelop. Documented almost exclusively in the Similipal Tiger Reserve in Odisha, India, fewer than 10 confirmed individuals have ever been officially recorded in the wild. In 2019, camera traps in Similipal captured footage of 3 pseudomelanistic tigers in a single frame, the first time multiple individuals had ever been photographed together. Wildlife researchers called it one of the most extraordinary wildlife images of the decade. Can you imagine coming across something like that in the wild? Have you ever seen a tiger that looked almost entirely black? Comment below if you even knew this variation existed before today. Position 14. Pink katydid. The tiny insect with a color that should make it the easiest prey in any forest. Here's the contradiction that breaks every logic about nature. This insect is bright pink. Not pinkish, not slightly reddish. Full, vivid, unmistakable bubblegum pink in a world of green leaves and brown bark. By every rule of natural selection, this thing should have been eaten into extinction thousands of years ago. And yet, here it is. The pink katydid is caused by a rare genetic mutation called erythrism, which triggers an overproduction of red and pink pigments while suppressing the green. Scientists estimate the odds of a pink katydid being born are roughly 1 in 500. It was first documented in 1987. And for years, researchers debated whether it could possibly survive long enough to reproduce. Turns out it can, and occasionally does. What's completely wild is that in some parts of Japan, pink katydids are considered symbols of incredible luck, and a single live specimen has sold to private collectors for over $2,000. Would you dare pick one up if you found it? Can you imagine stumbling across something this pink, just sitting on a leaf in your backyard? Tag someone who genuinely wouldn't believe this color is real. Position 13. Indian bullfrog. The frog that changes from dull green to electric yellow and blue during mating season. Imagine a frog that spends most of the year looking completely ordinary, dull olive green, easy to overlook, nothing special. Then mating season arrives, and overnight, it transforms into something that looks like it was designed by a neon sign artist. The Indian bullfrog, found across South Asia, undergoes one of the most dramatic color transformations in the entire animal kingdom. Males shift from their everyday green to a blazing combination of bright yellow body and vivid blue vocal sacs, an electric contrast that makes them look almost artificial under natural light. It's one of the largest frog species in Asia, reaching up to 6 inches in length and weighing over a pound. And that transformation isn't just visual. It happens within days, triggered purely by hormonal changes tied to the monsoon season. In 2021, footage of a fully transformed Indian bullfrog went viral across social media, racking up over 40 million views in 72 hours. Most comments said the same thing. People genuinely thought it was CGI. Did you know a frog could look like that? Isn't it incredible how God built a biological color change system this dramatic into one single species? Share this with someone who thinks they've seen everything nature has to offer, because they haven't. Position 12. Blue lobster. The ocean lottery ticket worth a fortune that almost always ends up on someone's plate. The odds of catching a blue lobster are 1 in 2 million. 1 in 2 million. That's rarer than winning most state lotteries. And yet every few months, a fisherman somewhere along the Atlantic coast hauls up a trap and finds one staring back at him. Bright, vivid, unmistakable cobalt blue. The color comes from a genetic mutation that causes the lobster to overproduce a specific protein that binds with a red pigment, creating that electric blue shell. It has nothing to do with diet or environment. It's purely genetic, a biological lottery ticket with incredibly long odds. Here's the most jaw-dropping part. Most blue lobsters that are caught are donated to aquariums because fishermen recognize how rare they are. But in 2022, a restaurant in Maine accidentally cooked one before realizing what it had. The story went international within hours. What would you actually do if you pulled one of these out of the ocean? Can you imagine catching the rarest lobster alive and not even realizing it? Drop a like if this one genuinely surprised you. Position 11. Two-Faced Cat. The living work of art that carries two complete color identities on one single face. This looks like someone took two completely different cats and merged them perfectly down the middle. One side of the face, deep black. The other side, vivid orange. Split so cleanly along the center line, it looks like a digital edit. Except it's not. It's one of the rarest and most visually striking genetic phenomena in the entire animal kingdom, called a chimera. This occurs when two fertilized embryos fuse in the womb, creating a single animal with two distinct sets of DNA. Each side of the face literally belongs to a genetically different cat, sharing one body. And the split rarely falls this perfectly down the center of the face. The most famous two-faced cat in history was Venus, an American tortoiseshell whose photos went viral in 2012 and earned her over 250,000 Instagram followers. Scientists confirmed she was a true chimera, two genetic identities, one remarkable animal. In 2023, a two-faced kitten born in the United Kingdom was valued at over $15,000 before it was even a month old. Can you imagine owning an animal this visually extraordinary? Isn't this proof that God has a creative side that goes way beyond what any artist could imagine? Comment which side of the face you think is more striking. Position 10. Red velvet ant. The insect that looks like a jewel and stings like a nightmare. Don't let the name fool you. This is not an ant. It's actually a wasp. A wingless female wasp covered in such dense, vivid red and black fur that it looks like a living piece of embroidery. Beautiful, striking, and absolutely not something you want to touch with your bare hands. Found across the southwestern United States and parts of Mexico, the red velvet ant, scientific name Dasymatilla occidentalis, earns its other nickname quickly. Cowboys call it the cow killer, not because it actually kills cows, but because its sting is so intensely painful that the name just stuck. On the Schmidt Sting Pain Index, the scientific scale researchers use to rank insect sting pain, the red velvet ant scores a 3 out of 4. For reference, a standard honeybee scores a 2, and the sting lasts up to 30 minutes. Here's what blows everyone's mind though. The female has no wings and must run across open ground completely exposed to predators. So God gave her an exoskeleton so tough that entomologists have documented cases where she survived being run over by a car. Would you dare pick one up not knowing what it was? Isn't it wild that something this beautiful is this dangerous? Tag someone who would absolutely try to pet this thing. We all know that person. Position 9. Albino alligator. The ghost reptile so rare that most will never survive a single day in the wild. There are fewer than 100 albino alligators known to exist in the entire world. Not 100 in a region, not 100 in a country, 100 total on Earth. The albino alligator carries a complete absence of melanin, the pigment responsible for the standard dark gray-green coloring that makes regular alligators so effective at ambush hunting. The result is a stunning, almost ghostly white animal with pale pink eyes and a scale pattern that seems to glow under sunlight. And here's the brutal reality of that beauty. In the wild, An albino alligator has almost zero chance of survival. Without camouflage, it can't hunt effectively. Without melanin, its skin burns under direct sun. Most don't survive their first week outside the nest. The few that exist today live almost entirely in controlled environments. The Audubon Aquarium in New Orleans houses one of the most famous specimens, a male named Spots who has lived in captivity since 1987 and is considered one of the rarest living reptiles on the planet. Can you imagine an animal this visually breathtaking being this vulnerable at the same time? Isn't it something that God created beauty and fragility in the exact same package? Keep watching. What's still coming on this list is absolutely worth staying for. Position 8. Cross fox. The North American fox with a natural black cross burned into its red coat. What if a fox looked like it was wearing a natural tattoo? That's exactly what the cross fox looks like. A deep reddish-orange coat, standard red fox coloring, with a dramatic black stripe running down its back and another crossing its shoulders horizontally. A perfect natural cross, like God signed his work right there on the fur. The cross fox isn't a separate species. It's a color morph of the common red fox, caused by a specific combination of melanin genes that produces that striking two-tone pattern, found primarily across Canada and the northern United States. It was once hunted so intensively for its distinctive pelt that populations collapsed across large portions of its range. During the fur trade era of the 18th and 19th centuries, a single cross fox pelt sold for prices equivalent to several months of a working man's wages. The pattern was considered the most visually striking of all North American fox variations, and traders specifically sought it above all others. Now get ready for this. In 2020, a cross fox photographed in Yukon, Canada, went viral after a wildlife photographer captured it mid-leap against a snow-white background. The image won 3 international wildlife photography awards. Would you have guessed this color pattern was completely natural? Have you ever seen a wild fox with markings like these? Share this if the cross fox is the most unexpectedly beautiful animal on this list so far. Position 7. Albino ball python. The snake that the exotic pet industry values more than most purebred dogs. In 1992, the first proven breeding pair of albino ball python sold for $150,000. $150,000 for 2 snakes. The albino ball python carries a recessive genetic mutation that eliminates all dark pigmentation, replacing the standard brown and black pattern with a blazing combination of bright yellow and clean white. The eyes shift from standard dark brown to a vivid red or pink. The result is one of the most visually striking reptiles ever documented. Native to sub-Saharan Africa, the standard ball python is already one of the most popular exotic pets in the world. But the albino variation sits in an entirely different category. Breeders have spent decades creating new color morphs by combining the albino gene with other mutations. And today there are over 4,000 documented ball python morphs, an entire industry built on genetic combinations starting from that first albino pair. The creator packed an entire color spectrum into the DNA of one species, and humans have spent 30 years discovering just how many combinations are possible. Can you imagine a hobby turning into a multi-million-dollar industry because of one genetic mutation? What would you name a snake that looked like this? Drop a like if this is the most beautiful snake you've ever seen. Position 6. Pink river dolphin. The Amazon's living legend that local tribes say was once a human being. Along the Amazon River, indigenous tribes have told the same story for centuries. The pink river dolphin, called the bodo, was once a man. By night, it transforms back into human form, walks among the villages, and seduces the unwary. By morning, it returns to the river. It sounds like mythology, but the animal itself? Completely real, and genuinely, impossibly pink. The Amazon River dolphin is the largest freshwater dolphin on Earth, reaching up to 9 feet in length and weighing up to 450 pounds. Born gray, it gradually turns pink as it ages, the result of blood vessels close to the surface of its skin combined with repeated abrasion from navigating submerged branches and roots. Older males develop the deepest pink coloring. The pinker the dolphin, the older and more dominant it typically is. Its brain is 40% larger than a human brain relative to body size. It can rotate its head 90 degrees. And unlike ocean dolphins, it navigates flooded forests during rainy season, swimming between trees and water that covers entire villages. In 2023, pink river dolphin populations hit a critical low, with surveys showing a 90% decline in some Amazon tributaries. Isn't it incredible that something this extraordinary is disappearing while most of the world doesn't even know it exists? Comment if you'd ever heard the Bodo legend before today. Position 5. Albino squirrel. The urban ghost that entire cities have adopted as their official mascot. Most people see a squirrel and don't give a second glance. But spot an albino squirrel? You stop. You stare. You pull out your phone. Every single time. The albino squirrel carries a complete absence of melanin, resulting in pure white fur and those distinctly pink eyes that make it unmistakable against any background. The odds of being born albino in the eastern gray squirrel population are estimated at roughly 1 in 100,000. What most people don't know is that several cities across the United States have adopted albino squirrels as genuine local icons. Marionville, Missouri calls itself the white squirrel capital of the world. Brevard, North Carolina holds an annual white squirrel festival drawing tens of thousands of visitors. Olney, Illinois takes it so seriously that harming an albino squirrel within city limits carries a fine of up to $750. In 2019, a wildlife photographer in London captured an albino gray squirrel sharing a park bench with a standard gray squirrel. The image was republished by over 300 media outlets worldwide. Isn't it wild that a genetic mutation in a squirrel became an entire town's identity? Have you ever spotted an albino animal in the wild? Tell me in the comments. Would you recognize one if you walked past it today? Position 4. Albino deer, the sacred white ghost of the forest that Native American tribes considered a divine sign. For countless Native American tribes across North America, the sighting of a white deer was not a random encounter. It was a message, a sign from the Creator that something significant was about to change, a shift in seasons, an approaching challenge, a moment of spiritual importance. The white deer was sacred, protected, and never hunted under any circumstances. The albino white-tailed deer carries a complete absence of melanin, producing that breathtaking pure white coat and pink eyes that make it look almost supernatural moving through a winter forest. The odds of being born albino in the white-tailed deer population are estimated at 1 in 30,000. In the wild, survival is extraordinarily difficult. Without natural camouflage, albino fawns are spotted by predators almost immediately. Most don't survive their first year. The few adults that reach maturity typically do so in areas with low predator pressure. In 2020, a wildlife camera in Wisconsin captured footage of an albino doe and her 2 standard-colored fawns moving together at dawn. The video was viewed over 60 million times within a week. Scientists described it as one of the rarest wildlife recordings ever made in North America. God painted this one in white for a reason, and people have been stopping in their tracks at the sight of it for thousands of years. Can you imagine being the person who stumbled across that footage? Would you have even believed what you were seeing? Share this with someone who needs to see what a white deer actually looks like in the wild. Position 3. Black-maned Ethiopian lion. The darkest and most majestic lion that has ever walked the earth. The lion is already the king of the animal kingdom. But the black-maned Ethiopian lion? That's the king wearing a crown. Found exclusively in the highlands of Ethiopia, particularly in and around Addis Ababa Zoo and the Bale Mountains. This subspecies carries a mane so dark it appears almost completely black, framing the face in a dramatic hood of deep black fur that no other lion population on Earth replicates at this intensity. Scientists believe the darker mane develops in response to the cooler temperatures of Ethiopia's high-altitude environment, a direct physical adaptation that also, completely by accident, created the most visually striking lion alive. A fully grown male stands over 4 feet at the shoulder, stretches over 9 feet from nose to tail, and weighs up to 420 pounds. The Ethiopian lion holds an even deeper cultural significance. It is the direct ancestor of the lions historically kept by Ethiopian emperors, including Haile Selassie, who maintained a pride of Ethiopian lions as symbols of imperial power as recently as the 1970s. In 2022, conservationists confirmed fewer than 1,000 black-maned Ethiopian lions remain in the wild. 1,000. Can you imagine how commanding this animal looks face to face? Isn't this proof that God saved some of his most extraordinary designs for the places least people ever visit? Comment if you think this is the most majestic animal on this entire list. Position 2. Black Panther, the shadow predator that is hiding in plain sight every single time you see it. Here's the fact that genuinely surprises most people. The black panther is not a species. It never was. What we call a black panther is actually a melanistic jaguar or leopard, a standard spotted big cat whose spots are hidden beneath an excess of dark pigmentation. And here's what makes that completely mind-bending. Under direct sunlight at the right angle, you can still see those spots. They're there, just hidden beneath the black. Like a secret the animal carries everywhere it goes. Melanism, the opposite of albinism, is caused by a dominant gene in jaguars and a recessive gene in leopards, making melanistic leopards significantly rarer than melanistic jaguars. In the wild, black panthers are found across Central and South America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and parts of Southeast Asia, essentially wherever their spotted relatives live. What most people don't realize is that a black panther and a spotted leopard can be born in the exact same litter. Same parents, completely different appearances. In 2019, wildlife photographer Will Berard Lucas captured the first confirmed high-quality photographs of a wild melanistic leopard in Africa in nearly a century. The images broke the internet within hours. Did you know the spots were always there? Isn't it incredible that God hid an entire pattern beneath another one? Just wait until you see number 1, because it's unlike anything else on this list. Position 1. Akhal-Tech horse, the living piece of gold that God created to make every other animal look ordinary. There is no other animal on Earth that does what this one does. No other creature in the entire animal kingdom reflects light the way the Akhal-Tech does. Not a butterfly, not a beetle, not a fish, nothing. Each strand of its coat has a transparent inner core that works like a fiber optic cable, literally bending and redirecting light to create a metallic shimmer that shifts between gold, silver, and copper, depending on the angle of the sun. It doesn't just look golden. It glows, like someone took liquid metal and poured it into the shape of a horse. Native to the deserts of Turkmenistan and one of the oldest breeds on Earth, existing for over 3,000 years, the Akhal-Tech stands around 15 hands, weighs close to 1,000 pounds, and was historically so valued that Turkmen warriors slept alongside their horses for warmth and protection. The breed was literally a family member. With fewer than 8,000 registered animals remaining worldwide, it is one of the most critically rare horse breeds alive today. Prime specimens have sold for over $1 million. And in Turkmenistan, the Akhal-Tech is a national symbol, featured on the country's currency, its coat of arms, and its national flag. Can you believe an animal this rare and this beautiful still walks the earth today? Isn't this the most extraordinary proof that the Creator's imagination has no limits whatsoever? This is hands down the most visually unique animal on this entire list, and nothing else even comes close. So guys, which of these 15 animals absolutely blew your mind? From the ghost-like albino alligator to the golden shimmer of the Akhal-Tech, every single one of these creatures is living proof of how limitless God's creativity truly is. Whether it's the black panther hiding its spots in plain sight, the pink river dolphin of the Amazon, or the sacred white deer of the forest, The natural world never runs out of ways to leave us completely speechless. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss what we bring you next. Comment below which animal surprised you the most. Your feedback means everything and helps us bring you better content every single time. And if you haven't seen our last video yet, 15 giant bulls that show the power of God, go watch it right now. The link is in the description and on screen. You will not believe what some of these animals look like. The animal kingdom never stops amazing us. Until next time, guys, and thanks so much for watching.